Hello, today on my channel you will hear an amazing story about life. I hope you enjoy this story. This one struck me to the core. Honestly, I still can't forget it. Enjoy watching.
Not far from the city, in a small village lived a family, a mother, a father, and a little daughter. "Mommy, why isn't Daddy here?" Lucy once asked the woman. "Your daddy left." Her mother didn't want to talk about it. Lucy didn't understand what was going on, why her father wasn't there, where had he gone? And her mother knew that Ivan was cheating on her. He often went to town. What he did there, no one knew. One day the husband came home. He had a blonde hair on his coat. At that moment the wife was worried, but kept silent. When she couldn't stand it, she sat him across the hall to talk to him. Ivan didn't think of anything. He just packed up and left. "Lucy, hi. A girl went to the disco one day. Leave me alone. What do you want from me?" She waved him away. "Will you come with me?" he asked, stopped. "No." Just then the girl waved her head. She wanted to go further, but Harry didn't let her do that. He grabbed and held her. "Let me go," she begged him. After that, Lucy had changed from anger to mercy, and now Harry was wooing her. She was just scared of him. There were no feelings initially. "Have you been hanging out with Harry?" Selena asked her at home. She hadn't been the same as always lately. "No, I'm not. It's just that he's hitting on me and I'm giving in to him to avoid pissing him off," her daughter answered her. "I do not know how you can tolerate such boorish behavior, even if in order to please that he did not touch you," sat the mother at the table and poured herself tea. During the week the girl went to school, and at weekends they all went to discos together. By now Harry was already constantly by her side. Lucy saw that even though he was as bad as they say he was ready to do anything for her. If someone hurt her, he would stand up for her. Of course, sometimes it could be too much, but it was still nice that he didn't leave things to chance. "Were you with Harry again?" her mother asked her at home. "Mom, stop it, we're dating." "What kind of questions are these?" her daughter told her every time. Now she was even proud to have such a man with her. Everyone in the village was just afraid of him. "You understand, he will beat you," the woman warned her. "He will beat me, not you," Lucy calmly answered her. The daughter and her mother began to quarrel over every trifle. It happened every day, several times. To unwind, Selena began to go to the city more and more often. At this point, when she was not at home, Harry came to Lucy, and they spent those days at home alone. "Mother will find out. She'll kill us both," the girl often told him. "Let her try, we'll show her who's boss." Harry grinned at that. When Selena arrived and saw that in their house the guy behaves like in hers, she immediately began to get nervous and said everything to her daughter and her friend. "Mom, yes, calm down now, he will go away, and we will talk to you calmly," looked at her Lucy. At this point she was already 15 years old. "Don't you realize he's just using you?" Selena told her. "Why can't you believe him?" "Yes, he has a bad temper. Yes, he can drink, fight, whatever. But he's actually very nice," the girl told her. "So, here are your things. Pack them up. And please, go to all 4 sides. Live at Harry's." "I don't care." Her mother showed her the bag. "Mom, what are you doing?" The girl couldn't understand. "What I'm doing? You're an adult. You're living with a guy. So let him take responsibility for you and live at his place." The woman turned her back to the window and stood like that. Lucy turned around. The young man was standing in the doorway of the house and heard it all. "Pack up," he said to her. "I can't," she answered him. Lucy was not very old, but she realized that she was in school. Her mother was responsible for her. She had no means of subsistence, and it was not certain that Harry could make sure that she did not need anything. "Pack, I told you," he insisted. "Okay, fine." By now Lucy was already packing some things and looking up at her mother, who still hadn't turned to her. They went out of the house. All this time the girl hoped that her mother would run out of the house, call her back, and then they would talk quietly and make peace between them. But that didn't happen. How could she do that? They were walking down the path to the guy's house. "Come on, you'll stay with me for a week or 2, and then everything will work out," he said and smiled. The guy was much older than the girl, but he didn't work anywhere. He was also sitting on his parents' neck. Sometimes, when he managed to get a part-time job, he would do it, but mostly he asked his mother for money. "Ma, it's us." They went to his house. "Who is it?" She came out into the hallway. The woman wasn't very nice either. She was old, and you could hear that she wasn't in a friendly mood. "Hello," Lucy said hello to her. "Aye," she said to that one, then curled her lips, looked at her son, and went into the room. It was obvious that she wasn't very happy about the girl showing up at their house, but Harry was on his own mind, so he didn't listen to anyone and took the girl by the hand and led her to his room. "I don't think your mom would approve of me living here," his friend told him. "Oh, what do you care? She doesn't approve. She doesn't even come here, just live here," he told her. Lucy shrugged her shoulders and began to sort through her few belongings. She thought to herself that there was nothing else for her to do but to be here and live with her boyfriend. Everything was fine between them, but there was still some tension. Selena went to see her neighbor at that moment. She was older than her, and the woman always consulted, thinking that more experience in life would help them deal with what her daughter was doing now. "Hi, Ariana," she walked in on her. "Oh, Selena, come in," she called her over. "Look, I'm here for advice. I've made a mess of things," the neighbor told her. "What kind of mess? Did Lucy and Harry do something again?" Ariana guessed. "Yes, they did, but I'm good too. I came here, saw that he was living with us, freaked out, yelled and kicked my daughter out of the house." Selena sat down at the table. "Oh, how could that be?" sighed Ariana. She began to pour tea and put plates of treats on the table. "Just like that, my nerves are shot, and something happened in the city." Her neighbor didn't look her in the eye. "Look, she's your daughter and she's still a little girl, so you can't let things get out of hand. Talk to her kindly to get her to come back," the woman advised her. "Okay, well, I'll try that." She sipped her tea from the mug and started to go home. For weeks, Selena couldn't make up her mind to tell her daughter that she was wrong and to come home. But still, then she realized that the girl was really still in school. She had to find some compromises, some options. She met Lucy after school. "Daughter, I need to talk to you," she told her. "Okay, let's go." She didn't mind these talks. They came home. Her mother had set the table. "Well, what did you want to talk about?" Lucy started first. "You know, I don't mind you hanging out with Harry anymore. You can see each other, you can talk to each other, and if you want to, you can live here," her mother said at last. "Mommy, you're the best." The girl hugged her. "Yes, I know," Selena said, though she didn't think so herself. Harry at that moment, not waiting for the girl from school, went towards her, but not seeing her, decided to go to her house. "What are you doing here?" He saw her at the gate. "Harry, I made up with my mom," she said. "So what?" He wasn't interested. "Nothing, now we can all live here together." Lucy was very happy. "But you don't rush things yet," came out to them Selena. "What do you mean?" Her daughter didn't understand. "Now you will finish the 9th grade, and in the summer we'll see what and how. And then when you are in high school, we'll talk about living together." Selena saw how Lucy's smile immediately fell off her face. "Mom, you promised." The daughter looked resentfully at her mother again. "So that's it? Let's not argue anymore. You and Harry can communicate, meet, spend time, at least at his house, at least at ours. But no more than that," said the mother insistently. She generally hoped that after the 9th grade the girl would go to the city, enter there, and finally forget her Harry. "And what he gave you, this Harry?" Did not understand the neighbor. She loves the guy and loves. So what if he is such, who has no flaws? "Yes. You do not understand. She is 15, he is 22. It is later the difference will not be felt, but now," said Selena in response to that. "I do not understand you, young people. I think so. As young people decide it, so it should be. And Lucy still has everything ahead of her. She'll get over it and leave him 10 times. Ariana waved her off and went home. Was she with him again? Her mother asked her when Lucy came home at 4 or 5 in the morning. "Mom, enough already." Went the girl to her room. "What is enough? You have to go to school at 8 in the morning, and you with him look until what time you go, and he also does not care how you finish 9 classes, the mother raged. She did not understand at all what should be done to shield the girl from this communication. Lucy continued to socialize with Harry. They were dating. They had an adult thing going on. Selena couldn't just let that happen. She did nothing but threaten and say various things, but no one cared about her opinion. When summer came and Lucy's vacation came, Harry called her to go to his grandmother's house in the country. They did just that. And now for a whole month and a half the young people lived practically alone. No one interfered with them, but it was necessary to return. "And why did you decide to go to the 10th grade and not to go somewhere else?" asked her boyfriend. "I don't know, I feel good here," the girl told him. In fact, she was afraid to go somewhere far away from both her mother and him, afraid that everything might change. When they arrived, her mother called her for a serious talk, said that she would allow them to live together, but only if the boy promised her that everything would be serious. And so it was. And when Harry really came to live with Lucy, the family and everyone's relationship became warmer. "Harry, you'll always be with me, won't you?" the girl said to him and stroked his head. Of course, he kissed her. Lucy believed the young man. She didn't even get the feeling that he could be deceiving her or something else. In the morning she would leave for school. Harry would stay home. He was still doing odd jobs, and he didn't want to get a full-time job. "How are you going to provide for your family?" Selena kept pestering him with that question. "What do you want from me? You don't have enough money." "I do what I can," he told her. "I don't see you doing anything." She got angry and went to the kitchen. But even after these little squabbles, they were fine. Lucy, when she came home, had her mom cooking in the kitchen and Harry doing things in the yard. She tried to help both. When almost 6 months had passed since they had started living together, Lucy began to notice that Harry was looking at her mom differently. "Say, do you like my mom?" she asked him once. "What kind of questions?" He turned to her. "I just want to know if you look at her as if you really like her." Lucy didn't hide anything from him. Perhaps it was because of her age. "Oh, come on." He turned away from her. The girl did not ask him such questions anymore because she realized that the young man is also offended that he hears such things. One day after school, the girl decided to go out with her friends because she had not done it for 100 years. She spent all her free time with Harry and her mom. "Did you really come out with us today?" They were surprised. "Oh, girls, you know, family life is not that easy," she laughed. "What kind of family life do you have?" They giggled back. They first went to one place, then another. In the evening, they came to the club. "You're going to the disco?" The girls were surprised. "I'll go for an hour," she answered. For some reason today, Lucy was surprised that Harry wasn't here. He sometimes said he would go to the club to meet his friends, and today he wasn't here. But that thought passed quickly through her head that she didn't have time to latch onto it. The girls danced a little. After that, Lucy went home. She didn't think about anything and didn't feel anything at all. She was just coming home from partying. When she got closer to the house, she saw that there was someone on the swing that their neighbor had built. Coming closer, the girl saw that it was her mother and next to her lover. "What are you doing here?" she asked them. "Nothing. We just went out for some fresh air, and Harry decided to rock me," Selena admitted. Even then, Lucy didn't think anything of it. It was just an innocent stroll. "Aren't you going home?" she asked her mother. "No, we'll stay here a little longer," she laughed. "I'll go, I'm tired and hungry," she said as she walked through the gate and went home. Mom and Harry came back about an hour later. They were laughing together, talking about something. "Since when have you been talking to my mom like that?" the girl asked him. "Why, I get it. She's a normal girl," replied Harry with a smile as he entered the room. "A girl?" stunned Lucy. "Well, yes, and who is she for me? It is for you. She is a mom, and we communicate with her as equals. Even if she is a little older." Harry was still explaining something, but the girl was already looking at him perplexed. She couldn't understand anything. The next day, when she didn't have to go to school, she waited for the young man to leave the house and decided to have a serious talk with her mother. "Mom, I want to talk to you." She came to her in the kitchen. "Okay," she agreed. "Tell me, and what is your relationship with Harry?" Lucy immediately asked, did not go around. What kind of relationship should we have with him? She didn't understand what the woman was asking her. "Well, just you walk, giggle, behave like two young lovers," said her daughter. "Are you jealous?" The woman smiled. "Not to say that I am jealous, but just remembering what kind of relationship you had before and how you behave now, it becomes interesting what has changed," said the girl. She lowered her eyes. She was ashamed to look at her mother at this moment. "Daughter, don't think about anything. Everything is fine," she tried to calm her down. "Until yesterday, I didn't think about anything until he called you a girl," Lucy said, got up and went to her room. When at school, her classmates started asking her about her mother. At first, Lucy didn't understand why they were doing this and why they were asking her about it. But when she learned that while she was at school one day, Harry had taken her mother fishing to show her how it was done, she had no doubt that there was something between them. "I'm off to school one of these days," she said, opened the door and walked out. Today the girl had a plan. She wanted to check on her lover and her mother. As strange as it may sound, it was an idea that stuck in her head and kept her on her toes. The girl left the house, walked down the street, turned the corner. She did not go further, stopped there, sat on a bench, and decided to wait for some time. About 40 minutes passed. Lucy got up and walked back. Ariana ran into her. "Lucy, why are you in school?" She was surprised. "Oh, Ariana, there is no time to explain everything. Come on, then you'll find out yourself." The girl knew about it reliably because the village was small and everyone knew about everyone. She hurried home because at first she waited. It seemed to her that this time would never end, and now she thought that she would not have time, but such a thing did not happen. She entered the house and immediately she heard her mother laughing. "Celine, well, you can't do that," Harry told her. "How can you do it?" she asked him. "She's your daughter. We're deceiving her," the young man told her. "Well, nothing, she's still young. She'll meet someone," Selena was adamant. "Come to me then." Lucy, of course, did not see it, but imagined that now Harry stretched out his arms to her and pressed her to him. "Have you no conscience at all?" Her daughter ran into the room where Harry and Selena were. "What are you doing here?" shouted Harry to her. Selena at this time was covering herself and trying to pull on a nightgown or robe. "I started to suspect something was going on in your relationship a long time ago, so I decided not to go to school today, but to check on the lovers," Lucy said sarcastically. She stood there, not knowing whether to cry or laugh. How could this happen? Even in a terrible dream could not dream that a mother could do this to her own daughter. "Lucy, wait." Selena got up from the bed and walked towards her. "I don't want to talk to you." The girl pulled her hand away from her. "You'll have to," almost shouted her mother. "Why should I? Imagine what the neighbors will say now." Turned to her, squinted her eyes and looked at her daughter. "And who's going to tell them?" A scandal was beginning to break out. All the while Harry sat on the bed and smiled. "And you don't care at all?" Lucy looked out from behind her mother. "Sort it out yourself. You got up and wanted to leave the room." "What, you made a mess of things and now you want to get away with it?" cried the girl who had been told and promised that she would be loved forever. Harry walked toward the exit, then he turned and held out his hand toward Lucy, telling her that he was calling her to come with him. She didn't even look at her mother, just walked over to the young man and walked out the door with him. "Come to my place, and now you will live there," he was telling her. I don't know if she was still resentful of him, but she couldn't stay with her mother either. "What is there not to know? You are mine," he was sure of it. They were back at Harry's house again. Though his mother was not happy about these guests, she never contradicted her son. Selena was alone at home. She stood and watched the young men as they walked away from her house. "Harry," she looked out the gate. Then he gestured to her. "You're not going to go to her, are you?" Lucy asked him. "I need to talk to her and find out everything to the end." He didn't look into the girl's eyes. "Well, then you cannot count on communication with me." Lucy turned sharply. "Did you think I would trade you for someone else?" He turned her toward him. "Harry, give me time until I can," she almost cried. The girl went to her room. She needed to be alone to think. She heard Harry leave the house. At that moment, a tear rolled down her cheek. How could this have happened? The young man was walking down the road, back towards Lucy's house. He was determined to tell the woman everything he thought of her. "Celine," he approached the gate. "What are you yelling about? Come in," she whispered from the window. "The more you act like that, the more you attract the attention of the neighbors." He chuckled at the woman's behavior. The guy entered the house. He immediately made his way to the room where the woman was waiting for him. Without asking anything, he walked over to her, hugging her. "Harry, why are you doing this to me?" She jabbed at his chest. "You should have been more careful." He kissed Selena. "What now?" she wondered. "Nothing. Now I told Lucy that I went to see you to set the record straight," Harry told her, at this point kissing her all over. "And what, you'll be both with me and her?" She was writhing in his arms. "Everything will be, just need some time to pass," he promised the woman. Which she couldn't help but agree with him. After spending a couple hours at Selena's house, Harry headed back home. "Where have you been so long?" Lucy asked him at home. She was exhausted from waiting for her young man. "That's it, get over it." He didn't want to talk to her. Lucy went back to her room. She did not understand how to live now, and what to do. The 10th grade was coming to an end. There was still a year left, and so much had already happened in the life of a village girl. She realized that if her mother and Harry wanted to, they would stay together, and she would not be a hindrance to them. Lucy had made up her mind. For months, she had seen Harry leave the house every day, returning in the morning. It was clear that he went to Selena, but he didn't leave the girl either. It was frustrating. "What are you up to?" Harry saw Lucy packing. "I'm leaving," she said calmly. "Where are you going?" smirked the young man. "I didn't ask you," she snapped at him. But Lucy didn't have time to go far. As soon as she was outside the gate, she felt sick. The girl sat down on a bench that stood here. "Girl, what's wrong with you?" One of the villagers came up to her. "I don't know, I feel dizzy," she exhaled. "Pregnant, I guess," the woman shrieked. "I don't know," Lucy looked at her fearfully. She decided that before she made any hasty decisions about leaving, she should get checked out. She went to the local health center. They advised her to get tested, so she did. "What is it?" shouted the young girl in a white coat. "2 stripes," Lucy said with a kind of desperation. "You should go to the hospital in the city," she said. Lucy sat there in the office and did not understand how it could happen. What to do? There was only her mother left, and where else would she go? Straight from the medical office, she headed for her home. It was embarrassing, painful, she didn't want to, but there was nothing left to do. As she approached her house, she saw a light on in the windows, pushed open the gate, and entered. Her mother was sitting in the kitchen. When she saw that her daughter had entered the house, she immediately got up. "What are you doing here?" she asked her. "Mom, I have no one else to go to." The girl lowered her eyes and told her that. "What about Harry? Did he kick you out?" said Selena haughtily. "I wanted to leave him today. I thought things would be different, but in the middle of the road, I got sick. Had to go to the medical center," she said. "And what?" The woman looked at her. "I took a test there, and it turns out I'm pregnant." Lucy blushed. "Ha ha ha ha, you've had enough of disco?" Laughing, Selena laughed back. "Mom, what are you doing? You know that I lived with Harry all this time." The girl was surprised by such a reception. "What are you telling me here? Harry spent most of his time at my place. It's unknown where you were and what you were doing at that moment." The daughter put her bag in the hallway, but her mother picked it up. She opened the doors and looked at the girl. "What are you doing?" the girl asked her. "That's who you tumbled with, to him and dragged your freak." Selena threw the bag out of the threshold. "Are you serious?" Her daughter looked at her. "You bet. Come on, I don't meet such a one in the village. What will the neighbors say?" Her mother pushed her out the door. Lucy took the bag. She was crying. Tears rolled in hail from her eyes. She sat down on a bench outside the house, and now she didn't know where to go or what to do. The closest thing she had to a family member had just kicked her out of the house. So she decided to go to Harry's house. He was the father of her child, after all, and she needed to talk to him. When she got to his house, she saw him and his friends at the gate. "Harry, can I talk to you?" She went over there. "What will I talk to you about?" He didn't understand. "But I need to tell you something." She didn't want to say it in front of everyone here. "Tell me, I have no secrets from my friends," he said in a slurred voice. "Harry, please, let's go inside," she asked him. "You go there yourself, and I'll come over when I need to," he laughed, and all his friends supported him. Lucy picked up her bag and went into the house. All sorts of bad thoughts swirled in her head. She hadn't waited for Harry that evening. She had fallen asleep and woke up in the morning to screams. She looked at the young man who was standing in the middle of the room, waving his arms and shouting. "What, did you have a baby?" He was telling her. Last night, when they were out with friends, he didn't want to go to Lucy's house, but went to Selena's. She told him that her daughter had fathered a child with someone else and now wanted to put it around Harry's neck. Maybe it was out of jealousy and because Selena wanted him to stay with her. "I don't understand you." The girl was about to cry. "What are you yelling about this morning?" The landlady came into the room. "She's got a belly and now she wants to claim I'm the father." Harry pointed his finger at her and complained to his mother. "How did you know she'd fattened it?" The woman didn't understand. Her mother told her Selena wasn't hiding anything. When Lucy heard it, she grabbed her bag, yanked the door open sharply, and ran out of the house. There was nothing holding her here anymore. She realized that she would have no support from either her mother or Harry. She didn't know who else to go to, so she decided to make her way to the city and decide what she would do next. She reached the road. Today, all the buses and shuttles had already left, so she had to walk or catch a hitchhiker, which didn't run here very often. The girl quietly walked along the roadside, all the while she was crying. She couldn't understand how it could be. It happens only in some scary movies, when a mother betrays her child. So she walked a few kilometers, heard the noise of a car. When she just wanted to raise her hand to stop, the driver slowed down himself. Behind the wheel sat a young man. He smiled and asked the girl where she needed to go. "Can you give me a ride to the city?" she asked him. "Sure, get in." He waited for her to open the door and get in. When she did, and the car started, the guy looked at her in the rearview mirror. "What's your name?" he asked her. "Lucy," she answered quietly. "Why so sad?" He didn't know if he was really interested or just wanted someone to talk to. "I'm leaving home," she lied to him, because she didn't want to tell him anything right now. "And I'm Austin." He even wanted to give her his hand, but the road was so rough it was better to hold on to the steering wheel with both hands. They drove on in silence, and when the town appeared in the distance, Austin asked her where she needed to go. "I don't know," she told him honestly. "What do you mean?" He didn't understand. "Well, it happened that no one in the village was happy to see me, and I had no one in town, so I went wherever I could. Now I'll go out somewhere, and then I'll think of something," said the girl in response. "So, now you'll come to me, we'll stop there, I'll feed you, I'll make you drunk, you'll tell me everything that happened to you, and then we'll decide what to do next," he said confidently. She realized that the man was many years older than her. Everything is fine. They reached his house. There they got out. Austin opened the door of the entrance in front of her. They went up to the floor and entered the apartment. "It's nice here," the girl said. "Make yourself comfortable." He looked at his new acquaintance and thought there was nothing wrong with her, but something about her really caught his eye. "Thank you, you're so kind," the girl said to him. "Come on, enough thanks, it's okay," he replied, went to the kitchen, put the kettle on to treat her. After that they sat in the kitchen for a long time. Austin had some business he had left, but by evening he was home and now she couldn't get away from the conversation. "Come on, tell me, I'm listening. What happened to you? Why did you leave your parents and why were you crying?" He sat down across from her and folded his arms across his chest. Lucy began to tell him. She had left out a lot of things, to the point that when she found out she was pregnant, no one supported her or understood her. There was nothing else to do but go to town. She finished her unhappy story. "Yes, the story," he shook his head. "That's what the nearest and dearest people do sometimes." Lucy didn't look at him. "Will you stay at my place?" he asked. "Come on, it's inconvenient." She didn't want to stress him out. "You know what is uncomfortable to do, to sleep on the ceiling, and here everything is comfortable. You will clean up, cook and do everything else, and you can live here as long as you want," he told her. In fact, he liked the girl too, and he didn't want to let her go. From that point on, Lucy started living with Austin. She did everything he asked and more. At some points, she got sick. Then the landlord helped her, took her to the hospital, and they registered together. And when a few months passed after they started living together, Austin invited Lucy to a restaurant. "What's the occasion?" she asked him. "Will you marry me?" No more words or rings or anything. He just held her hand. "How?" She didn't understand. "Well, like everyone does, we'll apply, go to the registry office, sign." He laughed. "I don't even know," the girl was confused. "Why, you're a good hostess. You do everything dashingly. It seems to me I did not hurt you too much when I let you into my house." He began to enumerate her. "All right," she agreed, realizing that this was the perfect way for her to stay here in the city. After that, it was on. Austin booked a restaurant. She needed to buy a dress for the bride. "What dress?" She didn't understand. "What do you mean, you're my fiancé?" He smiled. "Look at my belly. Soon it will be on my forehead." She showed her hand. "It's okay," he hugged her. Nothing had happened between Austin and Lucy before this. They were just living together on mutually beneficial terms. Talk about the baby. They were sitting at the table when the wedding was less than 2 weeks away. What was there to talk about? Lucy realized that not every man would accept another man's child. "Well, as what, we'll get married. I'll be your husband, so I'll be the father of the child," Austin reasoned. "Do you want that?" she asked him. "Why not, if the baby is healthy and doing well," he began to say. "And if it isn't?" Lucy looked him in the eye. "What not?" He didn't understand. "It will be born unhealthy," she said quietly. "Why should he be born unhealthy?" Austin took her in his arms, in his own, and she felt a kind of tenderness from him and even more reliability. When they had been asked at the registry office if they disagreed, Lucy had almost fainted, thinking that there was no such thing. Here she was, who no one wanted, went to the city. And now she's standing in the registry office, marrying a very nice man. And the man picked her up in his arms and carried her to the exit. It was just like in the movies. Everything was fine at the restaurant. Austin's friends were congratulating her. There was no one at Lucy's side at all. When he offered to tell his mother, she refused. She just didn't know how she would take all this information. And then they drove home. There wasn't much time left before the birth. Lucy had been waiting for this baby. She talked to him, but she didn't neglect anything at home. She kept doing everything the same as before. Austin was fine with that. He had no idea what could go wrong with their family. "Come on, let's go." He came home one day. "Where to?" The girl wanted to know. "What do you care?" He answered her rudely and unusually. "No, nothing. I just wanted to know what to wear." She looked at her husband confusedly. At least he was acting very strangely. After Lucy was ready, they went somewhere out of town to meet Austin's friends. The girl hardly talked to anyone. She was not comfortable being in such a place and with such people. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked him. "So that everyone could see that I was not alone," he answered her calmly. Lucy spent the rest of the evening on the sidelines. Everyone else was having fun, roasting meat, drinking. At one point she felt sick and asked Austin to take her home. "Are you doing this on purpose?" He started yelling at her in the car. "Why are you talking to me like that?" She didn't understand. "How can I talk to you? I took you under my wing. I did everything for you, an apartment, a car, everything at your disposal, and you give me such concerts here." He began to tell her. "What concerts?" The girl didn't understand. "These ones. Can't you see that I'm with my friends? Yes, I took you specially, so that my wife would leave home alone. And you?" He started the car. They drove off. Lucy saw the state he was in, couldn't understand what was happening to the man. Until a few weeks ago, he had been cheerful, courteous, and she thought, very reliable. Now this reliable man was taking his anger out on her. They arrived home. Lucy immediately went into the kitchen and began to do something there. She was very hurt that today she had been reprimanded by her husband for nothing. He came into the kitchen, looked around, asked something. The girl couldn't hear. "What?" She turned to him. "Are you deaf too?" He started yelling at her. "Austin, please don't yell. You know how bad it can be." She wanted to cry, but she held on. "Tomorrow morning wake me up at 6 and have coffee ready." He just told her. Off to bed he went. Lucy finished everything in the kitchen, turned off the light, and headed to the bedroom as well. In her mind, she couldn't fathom how a man she liked very much could become like this in a few hours. In the morning, she woke him up at 6 o'clock as Austin had asked her to, made coffee, some unpretentious breakfast, and wanted to leave the kitchen. But he stopped her by the arm. "I'm sorry," he told her. "Yeah, it's okay," she told him. "I know it's no good. It's just that I had a few drinks last night, and I got a little crazy," he admitted to her. "You drank and drove?" She asked him again. "What's the big deal?" He shook his head, exhaled, took a sip of coffee, pulled her close and sat her on his lap. "Austin, I'm not offended," she answered honestly. "Okay, I'm sorry again. I have to go to work." He got up from the table and headed for the exit. Lucy looked at him and smiled. She was pleased that the person who had offended accepted his mistakes and could apologize, unlike many others. But this wasn't the last time Austin would do this to Lucy. The next time he needed to go to some holiday, he called her to come with him, but this time Lucy didn't agree to it anymore. She said she wasn't feeling well and stayed home. It turned out she made things worse for herself. He was gone for 3 hours, and then there was a terrible knock on the door, and it swung open and Austin appeared on the doorstep. "Where are you?" he yelled. "Austin, what's wrong?" Lucy came out into the hallway. "What, did you say something to me?" he asked her. "Austin, please come on, I'll put you to bed." She didn't want a repeat of the night he yelled at her. "What, sleep? Are you out of your mind? Look at the time." He walked to the kitchen, took a bottle out of the cupboard, poured himself a glass, took a couple of sips. "Please don't," she begged him. "You're the one who's going to tell me what to do." He grabbed her arm and yanked it so hard that the girl almost fell. "Please don't. I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby, don't." She cried and clutched her stomach. The whole evening with Austin didn't go the way Lucy had imagined family life to be. Finally, he settled down and went to bed. Lucy lay down too. She was hurt and resentful. It was the moral humiliation and insult, but today it was also physical. When the young husband woke up in the morning, he saw that his wife was already awake. "What are you doing?" he asked her. "Nothing," she replied. At that time, Austin noticed the bruises on her arms, picked them up, stroked them. "I'm sorry," he told her again. "No, it's nothing. It's just come on. Next time you go out with your friends, I'll just go somewhere," she suggested to him. "I promise you it won't happen again," he almost swore to her. Lucy believed her husband. She had another appointment today and had to go out. "Why don't I drive you?" He offered her a ride. No, I'll walk," she was going to. "Are you sure you'll make it?" he asked her. "Yes, of course I will." She didn't want to contact him yet because her resentment was still strong. The girl got dressed and went outside. She reached the women's counseling center without problems and adventures. There she was told that she had to go to the hospital 2 weeks before her due date. She nodded and went back home. And as she walked, on the way back, she had the same adventures she had not thought of when she went to the hospital. Lucy decided to go to the store to get something tasty, and when she was already inside, she saw Harry at the cash register. The girl wanted to leave the store quickly so that no one would notice her, but she didn't have time to do it. Harry was already here. "Hello, Lucy," he came up to her. "Hello," she answered him. He looked at the girl with the big belly and couldn't believe that it was the same Lucy who had been in 9th grade and dated him. "What's up? What are you doing?" he asked her. On 5, she wanted to leave the store, but he took her hand. "Wait," he asked her. "Don't touch me, my husband is waiting for me at home." She looked at her ring finger with a gold ring on it. "What do you mean, husband? It's only been a few months since you left the village. When did you have time?" he asked her. "You don't have to worry about that," she replied, and wanted to go. "Who is he?" asked Harry. "What do you care?" She looked him in the eye, then snatched her hand away and walked towards the exit. "Lucy, wait." Harry dropped everything and ran after her. "I don't want to hang out with you. I have a new young man now and I don't want to go back to my old life." She walked and didn't turn around. "I'll tell your mother everything," he shouted after her. "Are you two still together?" She turned to him. "Yes," he nodded and didn't understand what the question was. She moved on. "What, you? Do you realize what you're doing? Dropped out of school, moved away. Now you're going to have a baby. What's next?" shouted Harry. "This has nothing to do with you anymore." Lucy wanted to get away from him as soon as possible. "You'll be sorry," the young man shouted after her. He turned around and went about the business he had come here to do. He saw that Lucy was well dressed, not suffering at all, and her ring was not cheap. He decided for himself that he was going to go home and tell Selena first thing in the morning. Harry was in a hurry. He bought everything quickly, not even all the things he needed. He went to the train station, bought a ticket, got on the bus, and was very nervous the whole way home. "Selena, where are you?" He ran into the courtyard. "Why are you yelling?" She came out to him. "Let's go." He pulled her with him. "What's wrong?" She didn't understand. "You'll find out." He put a chair, sat the woman down, and sat next to her. "What are you doing?" "It's like someone died." She looked and waited for him to start talking. "I was in town now. I met Lucy," he told her, and he looked at her with eyes that Selena couldn't help but ask what happened next. "Well, tell me what kind of mystery you've got going on," she asked him. They met in the store, all of herself, in expensive clothes, belly on her forehead, on the finger of an engagement ring. Harry made big eyes. "What?" My mother didn't understand how that could happen. "What did you think? He'd go to the city and disappear from your life?" He sneered. "Come on, he arranged it all by himself," the woman said. "Yeah, no argument. So what, you're not going to do anything?" Harry didn't know what he wanted. On the one hand, he felt bad that he was out here in the country and she was out there living in the city. "Why not?" Celine winked at him. "It's your baby. We can milk her hubby for a bit, assuming everything you say is true. Here's a tooth for you." He made a knowing gesture. "Then get ready. In a day or two we'll go visit our daughter," smiled Selena. The woman didn't know what she really wanted. One thing was clear. She wouldn't give Harry to her daughter, so there was no need to bring her here. But she could talk in town, shame her son-in-law for not inviting her to the wedding. "Are you ready to go?" Harry asked Selena as they were really going to go. "Yes," the woman nodded. "Lucy is pregnant. Is that stopping you?" he asked her. "No, why should it stop me?" "She's an idiot. She's done so much in the village, she's embarrassed everyone, and now she wants to live happily ever after. Selena didn't understand. They got on the bus and drove off, but they didn't think about the fact that they would have to find Lucy somehow. "Do you have her phone number?" the young man asked. "I'll find it right away." She started looking at contacts. When everything was found, they had to get to the bus station, and then it was a matter of technique. When Selena dialed her daughter's number, at first there were long beeps, and then the electronic voice said that the subscriber could not answer. Maybe she changed her number, Harry thought, as he'd long since deleted all his phones. Now, the woman dialed the numbers again. "Hello." It sounded in the receiver, of course. The girl's screen showed that her mother was calling her. And after all the humiliation and insults she received from her, she just didn't want to talk. Moreover, Lucy realized that Harry had told her everything. "Daughter, hello," the mother began in a sweet voice. "What do you want?" the girl asked sternly. "Why are you so with your mother? I found out that you got married, and I was not even warned," said Selena. "And when you kicked me out of the house, or man from me took away, also worried?" asked the girl in response. "Oh well, enough, who will remember the past? I heard, now you're doing well," said Selena all the same. "Tell me what you want," Lucy said sternly. "And we're coming to visit you," said the address quietly, said the mother, and winked at Harry. "And no one is waiting for you." The girl was confused, but she said the address for some reason. "Good. Talk to your husband. Tell him that your mother-in-law is coming." At that moment they saw a cab and got into it to get to the place where Austin lived. Lucy sat on the couch and did not understand what was about to happen. Things hadn't been going well with her husband lately, and then her mom and ex would show up. There was a knock on the door, and she went to open it, not wanting her and Austin to get in a fight over scandalous relatives. "Well, hello, daughter," stood on the threshold of the mother. "Why are you here?" Lucy didn't understand. "And what, I cannot see my daughter already?" said Selena, and herself looked over her daughter's shoulder. "What is there inside the apartment?" "Mom, I'm certainly glad to see you." She looked at the woman and then shifted her gaze to the young man. "And I take it I'm not right?" "Yes, Harry." "Let me finish," asked Lucy. "Well," stood and looked at her sassily at her mother. "When I was in the village, came to you normally, you kicked me out, and now what do you want me to accept you with open arms?" Looked at her girl. "Lucy, daughter, are we going to quarrel with you for the rest of our lives? Now you have a husband, I have Harry, we all have everything. What do we have to share?" She tried to smile, stretched out her arms for a hug. "Mom, stop it." Lucy stepped back and started up their apartment to talk. When the woman and the young man entered, they all looked around. "Nice job, daughter," her mom told her with envy. "Mom, let's not talk about who settled down. You don't know anything, so just keep quiet, and I'd like you and Harry to leave here," Lucy admitted to her honestly. "Well, not even tea." They headed for the kitchen. "Fine," the girl rolled her eyes and exhaled. She put the kettle on and made the tea. Mom and Harry sat drinking and admiring how or where Lucy could find such a man so quickly, with an apartment, a car, everything. "Are you jealous again?" she said to Mama. "Well, why should I be jealous? If I'd have gone, I would probably have found such a man too." Her mother pressed her lips together. "Well, you traveled. What prevented you from finding such a man? Why did you decide to take mine?" The girl turned away to the stove. They hardly talked about their personal lives anymore. "So, when is the deadline?" the mother asked. "Probably not to find out what you would have a grandchild, but to find out when Lucy wouldn't be home." What did it matter to you? She expected the woman to understand and leave her house. "How about it? My grandson after all," smiled Selena. Lucy looked at this woman, who until a few years ago had been a normal mother, who had loved and cared for her child. What had happened now was incomprehensible. "You kicked me out, almost forcefully pushed me out of your house, and now I have to receive you here." It was strange to the girl, from what Selena's interests had changed so much. "Okay, today we'll wait for your husband, get acquainted, and then we'll decide who did or will do what," summarized the woman. "Do you have plans again?" Lucy grinned. "No, something," tried to diffuse the situation with casual conversation. "Mother, I've had enough of this circus." Harry jumped to his feet. He'd been sitting there for a good 2 hours listening to this nonsense. Now he realized that Selena was really jealous of her daughter. She had thought of something to upset everything here. And he, the fool, he had everything in his hands. "But what are you doing?" The woman looked up. Lucy was sick of all this and went into the kitchen, dizzy and a little nauseous. She thought about Austin coming home now and telling the uninvited guests to get the hell out. Her husband knows her history, so he should understand how uncomfortable she is to have them all here right now. I hope your husband isn't like you. Selena entered the room. What do you want from us? Lucy didn't understand. She was getting hysterical. At that moment, a car drove into the yard. It was Austin. He didn't even realize what was going on in his apartment. The young man calmly got out of the car, closed the doors, walked past the neighbors who were chirping something. After he went up to the floor, put the key in the keyhole, pushed the doors open. Inside the apartment, they heard it all too. Lucy immediately got up from her seat and went into the hallway to meet her husband. Celine and Harry remained in the room. The woman sat in a chair. She had put her leg over her foot and now made it look like if her son-in-law tried to come in, she would show him who was boss. Are we having company? Austin came into the apartment and saw someone else's shoes. You just don't get mad. My mom came to me with her boyfriend. Lucy pressed her lips together. It's okay, we'll talk about it. He took off his shoes. Austin walked into the interior of the apartment, stopped on the threshold. Silence hung in the room. Selena, when she saw who was her daughter's husband, just freaked out. She sat there, looking as if a ghost had appeared in front of her. Meet my husband, Austin, Lucy said, and looked at Harry like that, not knowing what to add. The young man walked up to the landlord and held out his hand. Harry, he said to him. Very nice. It was obvious that Austin was also puzzled about something. What was going on in the room now? No one understood at all. Come on, I'll feed you all, Lucy suggested. No, let's do it a little later, Austin told her. He went to change his clothes. His mother sat in the chair without saying a word. Selena, what's going on? Harry leaned over to her. Nothing, everything is fine, she answered quietly. But it was obvious that the woman was either frightened or very surprised. They went into the kitchen after all, sitting down at the table. While Harry and Austin ate, Selena watched them. This is the first time I've seen you like this, Lucy said to her mom. Usually the woman said something at the table. She always brought out her criticism of how poorly her daughter cooked. But now she just sat there, silent and looking at everyone. Okay, I have to leave. I'll be late. Set up here. And yes, the relatives can sleep over, but I don't want to see anyone else tomorrow morning, Austin ordered and went into the corridor. Where are you going? Lucy followed him. He kissed his wife on the cheek, quickly put on his shoes and left the apartment. What's going on? The girl stood in the hallway. She didn't understand anything at all. Austin used to be quiet, then he began to behave in such a way that she was simply afraid of him. Now he came in, was quiet, and left the house. Harry was sitting in the room at this point. He didn't say anything. Where did you meet him? Selena came into the room and spoke not so brazenly and valiantly as she had an hour before. I'd already told you, I left the village and walked to town. Austin was driving a car, picked me up. The girl began to tell her story again. Do you know where he was coming from? Selena asked her. No, I've never been interested, and what do I care? The girl told her. I see. Selena walked over to the window. She looked down, saw Austin sitting in the car driving, not about to go anywhere. She turned to her daughter and Harry, smiling. Daughter, maybe we should go grocery shopping, she asked. What? That made Lucy laugh. Well, in the evening it will be necessary to cook something. Let me go to the store, buy all the products, and then come and we'll cook together with you, she said. Mom, you are all right with your head. Just now you were rude to me, saying different bad things. And now you have become kind, and you want to go shopping for groceries? Smiled the girl. Listen, everything has to change. Now I saw that your husband is serious. He doesn't want to see us. And I'll cook dinner. We'll sit together at the table, and maybe it will strengthen and unite all of us. Selena tried to choose words. Anyway, Selena, tell me, do you know him? Stood up Harry and walked very close to her. What? She didn't get it. Who do you know? Don't pretend. I can see that kind of thing from afar, Harry told her. He stood and looked down at her. I don't want any fights here, Lucy said quietly. Nah, there won't be any fights if your mom tells us the whole truth. Harry looked back at Lucy. Austin sat in the car for about another hour. After that, he got out again and walked home. He hardly said anything at all now. He changed his clothes and went into the kitchen, had a quick cup of tea, and went to the bedroom. You don't know them at all, Why do you feel that way about them? Lucy came in after him. Darling, let me explain everything to you later. You didn't want to talk now. Okay. She didn't argue with him because she was a little afraid. The girl went out to the others. You can take apart the couch, change your clothes, and go to bed, she told her mother. Okay, but your husband isn't coming out to see us again? Celine asked her. I don't know, her daughter answered her honestly and walked back into the bedroom. She changed her clothes, lay down, and fell asleep very quickly. At night, Austin went to the kitchen. He poured himself some tea, sat down at the table, and just sat there alone. Well, hello, Selena walked into the kitchen. Hello, Austin didn't look at her. Tell me, how could this happen? Did you do it on purpose? She asked the man and walked over to the table. And how do you envision it? He smirked. Well, I don't know, it turned out I had a daughter, came to get her, she speculated. Aha, 5 years standing on the road, guarding. He continued to sarcasm further. At that moment, Harry woke up in the room. He heard voices coming from the kitchen, got up and went in. When he saw that Austin and Selena were sitting and talking peacefully, he was very surprised because there had been no contact between them even in the evening. The young man stood quietly at the kitchen door to hear what they were talking about. How could you leave me then? Almost cried Selene. She reached out her hands to take Austin's, but he pulled his own away. Selena, that was all in the past. I'm married to your daughter now. So pack up your melancholy and go to your village, he spoke in a calm tone, and he still didn't raise his eyes at her. Austin, have you forgotten everything? She could not understand. And there wasn't even anything to forget. It seemed that the man didn't want to talk to her. I wrote to you, I loved you so much. I was ready to wait for you all my life, she told him. Selena, that's it. Nothing else will change. He wanted to get up from the table, but did not have time to do so because Harry ran into the kitchen, immediately grabbed him by the chest. Who's the freak? He shouted in his face. Get away from me. Austin started to fight back. I'll show you. Get off, I'll show you. Harry remembered his youth and started hitting his ex-girlfriend's husband. He seemed to be avenging not only Selena, not only today's insults, but Lucy as well. What's going on? A girl came running in. She couldn't understand what the scuffle was about because back in the evening everything was silent. Nobody said anything to each other. Daughter, we need to calm down, make some tea, and then I will explain everything to you, her mother told her. The girl, not understanding anything, put the kettle on. She made tea for everyone. Harry and Austin sat there like two bulls looking at each other. I don't want to see them in this apartment anymore. Austin looked up at his wife. Honey, at least let them stay until morning, Lucy asked. I'm not such a monster as to kick people out of the house at night. Then I'll leave. He got up from his chair and went to change his clothes again. I don't understand anything at all. Sat down on Lucy's chair. Let's go to bed. I'll tell you everything in the morning. Selena was calm, but Harry was ready to tear everything around, but realizing that he was a guest, he didn't dare to do it. Austin had indeed left. Lucy had not slept. She had tossed and turned all night, and it was only in the morning that she managed to get some sleep. There was only one thing on everyone's mind now, the situation that had happened in the apartment during the night. Harry was angry now that Selena hadn't explained anything to him. Lucy didn't understand anything at all. Things had somehow waited until morning to go into the kitchen and talk. Austin, come home. You can't run away from this situation for long. You still have to figure it all out, the wife called to her husband. Okay, now wait, I'll be there soon, he answered her. Selena was already in the kitchen at that time. She was cooking something when her daughter came in. The woman didn't look at her. Well, will someone explain what happened, or will everyone just run away from each other and keep silent? Asked the girl. Where is your husband? Selena asked then. He will come soon. Lucy did not hide anything. We'll wait for him, then we'll talk together. Selena did not finish. No, you're going to tell me now. Harry ran into the kitchen and grabbed the woman by the chin. He moved her face so close to his that it was unclear what he was even talking about. Get away from me. She pushed him away. Oh, I see. You met your ex and now you can't get over him. Harry smirked. He sat down at the table. He had found a bottle of alcohol in Austin's closet last night, and now he was pouring it into a glass again. Why are you drinking? Lucy asked him. What else could I do? I went with your mother like a fool to check on you, and she must have had her own plans, he said, sighing and drinking. Mom, this can't be happening. Her daughter looked at her. I said I wouldn't talk about anything without Austin, Selena said. Lucy had already guessed from the fragments of phrases that her mother and Austin had some kind of relationship, but it didn't make sense how a shell could fall into the same funnel. The door opened, and Austin entered the apartment. His wife went straight into the hallway to meet him. "Austin, let's go to the kitchen. Your mother won't talk without you," she told him, took hold of her stomach, and wrinkled her nose. "What?" He was worried about her. "No, it's okay. Just something stabbed." The girl headed for the kitchen. Now they were all sitting at the table together again. Austin was looking at Selena. Harry was once again pouring himself a drink. There was a tense silence around them. "Who's going to start?" Selena looked at Austin. "I don't see what there is to start. It's all settled. You and Harry, me and Lucy. Pack up and go home." Austin couldn't stand the nonsense that had been going on since last night. "No, my dear, you're going to explain to me and everyone else what happened here." The woman took the glass from Harry's hands and took a sip too. "Austin, it's probably better to tell you everything than to stay in the dark." "Okay, Harry, they have no marriage, nothing, he can just go home. But you do realize that you and I are husband and wife, and this is my mother. And after what she did to me about Harry, I can't just let it go." Lucy almost cried. "You're not allowed to worry at all right now," turned to her husband. "Fine, I'm not allowed to worry. So don't worry me," she said. "Okay, enough of all these empty words." Selena got up and went to the window. "Lucy, you know when your father told me he had a woman in town and went there, I felt really bad?" "Yes, I remember all that. Why rake up the past?" Her daughter told her. "You remember that at that time we started to go to the city and spent a long time there," her mother told her. "Yeah, and then what happened?" Lucy was pissed off. "What are you listening to her for? She slept with your Austin," freaked out Harry at this point. "Nobody's asking you anything, just sit there and shut up," the woman told him. "Okay, whatever you say, but keep in mind that you're going home alone," the young man told her. "So, at that time I really wanted to meet someone, not even to fall in love, but to forget your father." Selena sat back in her seat. Austin at this point stood up and got a glass for himself. He poured everything from the same bottle. It seemed like the man just didn't want to hear all of this. And what happened next? Lucy was ready to listen, unlike her husband. "We came to town one day, a big group of friends, all jolly. Once we went out of town, and there I saw him." Selena looked at Austin. "So what, you realize that was years ago. Now it's all in the past, you can't get it back." He put the glass on the table sharply. "I don't think so," the woman said sadly. "Well?" Lucy couldn't wait. "That's it, we started dating," Selena started to say. "Dating?" Austin smirked. "Well, guess. That night we spent there in the country house. Then I came to the city a few more times, looking for Austin to meet. But we didn't meet. And then he came on his own, didn't he?" Selena looked at him pointedly. "So what? He just wanted to have fun, and you were a reliable partner." He stroked his wife's knee. "You're not going to deny that you and I started seeing each other afterward, and we were serious, are you?" Selena scribbled her finger on the table, thinking about something. "Yeah. Well, as much as Austin hated to admit it, he had to. It turned out that Austin wasn't as simple a young man as he wanted to be. He was into all sorts of things. He and his buddies were robbing people, breaking into apartments, you name it. And then, apparently, just like his partner, he thought no one would wait for him. And when he was locked up, he started writing to me." The woman stopped talking. "What, you were sitting down?" turned Lucy to him. "Yes, but that was in the past. Now I am a good citizen. I have everything legal," he told her. "Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore, and I don't want to hear it. Mom, Harry, pack up and go home." Lucy got up from the table and started walking from corner to corner. "I've been waiting for him. I wrote him letters, went to see him, brought him packages, did whatever he asked. And 6 months before he was released, Austin just disappeared." Selena narrowed her eyes and looked at him. Selena wondered why things were different in the man's life now. "It's because I've decided to start a new life, and I don't need people like you in it," he said gruffly. The tension in the kitchen was getting stronger and stronger. No one knew what to think and say anymore. "Selena, let's go home." The young man stood up from the table. "Harry, you said I wasn't leaving with you tonight," she wondered. "Yes, I did, but now I've changed my mind. Pack up, let's go," he was adamant. "Yes, look at you, what state you're in. Where are you going today?" Lucy stopped him. "And you don't come near me at all." The young man didn't know what he should do now. He went into the room, lay down on the sofa. Lucy went into the bedroom too. Austin and Selena were left alone in the kitchen. In any other situation, the girl wouldn't have left them there, but now she realized they needed to talk. Lucy was sitting in the room when Harry walked in. "Why did you come in here?" she asked him. "Let's talk about something too," the boy told her. "What do you want to talk to me about?" She didn't understand. "About us," he paused, "and our baby." "Ah, you remembered that you and I have a baby. You said I fattened it up." Lucy was getting worked up too. "Lucy, please don't push me away," he asked her. "Okay, I don't want to talk to you about anything. Let's go over to their place before they make a mess," she suggested to Harry. They walked into the kitchen. Austin was sitting on a stool. Selena was next to him. She was snuggled into his chest, saying something and crying. "Honey, I'm sorry, please, but it has to be done." Austin got up from the table and pulled Selena by the hand. "Where are you going?" She didn't understand. "We're going for a walk. We have a lot to talk about, and you make something delicious," kissed her husband on the cheek. Lucy stood and watched her husband walk away with her mom. She couldn't believe it, but she had déjà vu. "Don't worry, everything will be fine." Austin took her hand. When Selena was ready, they walked out into the entryway. The girl wasn't worried. She was more afraid now. "Is there anything else to drink?" Harry asked her. "I don't know, look in the room at the bar," she showed him with her hand. Lucy stood at the sink. She wanted to wash the dishes and distract herself, but the thoughts wouldn't leave her head. Here she is, penultimate month pregnant, standing here in her husband's apartment. Her mother shows up and messes her up again. And how could it be that first she was with Austin and now she's with her? "Hey, what are you doing hanging out?" Harry's voice snapped her out of her stupor. "What?" She turned to him, her eyes wet with tears. "Nothing, stop whining. You knew Selena was like this. Why did you let her in the house right away?" He poured another glass. "Harry, stop drinking and go get some sleep already," the girl asked him. Austin and Selena meanwhile came out of the entrance. He headed for the car. "Let's walk," Selena asked him. Okay, there were so many emotions inside the man. On the one hand, he was already used to Lucy. She was a good hostess and didn't demand anything in return. But on the other hand, when he saw Selena, the feelings he had felt years ago flared up again. Now he just wanted to tell the woman to stay out of his life. "Let's go sit somewhere," Austin asked her. "Okay, if that's what you want, let's go sit." Selena walked beside him. She felt that the man still had some feelings for her. They reached the cafe, took a table and ordered. "Do you mind the wine?" he asked her. Of course not. Now it seemed to Selena that she wasn't really as old as she really was, and she was still a young girl who could do anything and everything. "You haven't changed." Austin wanted to put their conversation on a friendly footing. "Neither have you," she told him in return. When the order arrived, he poured wine into glasses and offered her a drink to understanding. "Do you have any idea how this could have happened?" She was now thinking the same thing her daughter was thinking. "Of course, tonight when I left, that's all I was thinking about," he nodded his head. "I never thought I would meet you again at all." Selena lowered her eyes. They were very sad. "Do you think I dreamed of meeting you?" Austin realized that everything he had in the past was left there, somewhere far away. He didn't even go back to it now. He used to be young, stupid, wanting everything at once. "So, can we try to start over?" Selena tried to cast the first line. "Don't you understand? I'm a serious businessman now. I have a wife, a baby on the way." He looked at her. "So it's not your child," smirked the woman. "Yeah, it's not mine, but it's going to be born into my family, so it's going to be mine," as he spoke, not looking at her. "Austin, you realize she's young. Even if she gives birth, she'll still have a man. We'll help her with the baby. I'm not old enough to choose either. She's young, a year, 2 years, she'll leave you. And with you, we can make a perfect couple," the woman told him. "Yeah," Austin shook his head. "Business." He thought back to the way things used to be. Selena had really always supported him in everything, even when they did something stupid. She was on his side. And then in prison, she never said no. "Yeah, what's the matter? It was fine." Selena believed they could make it work. "And Harry?" She looked at her. "What Harry? He's just a passing fella," the woman said out loud, and thought to herself that Austin was her true love. "We've been sitting here for hours now. Why don't we go home?" The man said to her. "Let's walk some more and then go home." She didn't want to go back. "Do you realize that you would take a man away from your daughter a second time?" He was looking at her now. But if that's how life works, what can I do? She said. What about the psyche? Austin asked. Hose. Selena didn't understand him. Your daughters, he mumbled to her. Oh, and you're so thoughtful, she laughed. They went to the nearest park, which was not far from the cafe. There they wandered for a long time, then sat on a bench, and everyone was talking, discussing, assuming, but no one knows what was going to happen and what would really happen. Finally, when it started to get dark, the couple went home after all. What do you think they're doing there now? Selena asked Austin. What do you think they're doing? Do you think they might have something? He looked at the woman seriously. Why, you think not? She's loved him since 7th grade, and no matter what anyone told her, she's never left him. And imagine, then he became with me, what resentment and anger she had. And now, Celine began to tell him. I don't believe that Lucy, after all that we had with her, can do such a thing. Austin refuted the version of his interlocutor. Come on, I was just asking. She didn't want to piss him off. Nothing is ever done for nothing. Their house was already visible in the distance, and Austin really thought about the words of his companion. Imagine how nice it would be if he and Harry got together now. It would be his baby. A family would be formed and the child would have a real mother and father, Selena went on and reasoned. What are you talking about? Austin turned to her. He quickened his step, for he was anxious to go home and see with his own eyes that he had been right about his wife. And at home, after the couple had left and Harry had found a new bottle, a very different story was developing. That's it, Harry. Go to your room and go to bed. The girl tried to take the bottle from him. What? Are you still going to tell me what to do? He shoved her away. That made the girl smile because Austin did the exact same thing. She immediately thought of him. It made her sad. Lucy decided she wasn't going to fight Harry. She went to her bedroom. It was a quiet place where she could mind her own business and think about what was going on in their family. She sat there, going over the pictures, remembering how Austin had proposed to her, how she had started living in this apartment, how she felt about her man. She didn't think about anything else. At that moment, Harry walked into the room. He was pretty drunk, which couldn't help but scare the pregnant girl. You again? She asked him. What? He answered one-wordedly. Why did you come in here? This is my bedroom, or rather ours, she told him. Yours and Austin's, yeah. Now it's going to be yours and yours. He sat down next to her and put a hand on her shoulder. Harry, get away, she pleaded with him, realizing she couldn't do this aggressively. And why go away? You love me so much, that's it. Love is gone. Wilted tomatoes? He asked her. So you're with my mom, I'm married. How can we do that? She argued to him. I take it your mom isn't with me anymore, Harry told her in a drunken voice. Please leave the room, she asked him almost tearfully. Won't you be with me? He turned to her. Never, she looked him straight in the eye. I don't think so, he started kissing her. Harry, leave me alone. I'll never forgive you for cheating on me, especially since you did it to my mom. She pushed him away from her. But naturally, the young man was stronger. He kissed her first and tried to get her on the bed, and eventually he succeeded. What are you doing? I'm pregnant, she shouted. Nothing, it won't hurt, Harry answered her. He was lurching. At that moment, Austin and Selena walked into the apartment. The man saw that there was no girl in the kitchen or in the room. Lucy, he called out to her, but there was no answer. But from the room he heard some commotion. Austin opened the door just as Lucy was lying on the bed with Harry on top of her. What are you doing? He grabbed the young man and they started fighting again. The men lay on the floor of the room, first one hitting the other, then the other vice versa. Selena and Lucy got them off each other. What did I tell you about? Selena applied a cotton ball with hydrogen peroxide to Austin's lip. Look, everyone get off my back. Pack up and get out, Austin said. Austin, think about it. The woman crouched down beside him. I'll think about it, but now everybody, you and you and you and you, he pointed his finger at all three of them. Pack up and go to your village. He didn't want to see anyone. I'm not going anywhere. Went to Lucy's bedroom. Why is that? Strangely enough, it was her mother who started asking her. I'm going into labor any day now. The girl wouldn't look at her. She was hurt that her mother had invaded her life again, and what to do now. So, like I said, that's the way it's going to be. Everyone pack up and out. Austin pointed to the door. Selena didn't argue with him. She grabbed her bag and headed for the exit. Harry was already there. He couldn't handle his sneakers. "Why are you standing up? Go get your own." The owner turned to his wife. But the girl wanted to say something. "No buts. Get out and live all together with your Harry," was Adam and Austin. Lucy as well as Selima knew that it was useless to argue with this man. If he had made up his mind about something, then that was the way it was going to be. They left the apartment together, headed for the train station. "And what have you achieved?" The girl did not look at her mother. "And you?" She answered a question with a question. "Lucy, we need to talk seriously and sober." The second part of the sentence referred to Harry. He was walking down the road and mooing something. The mother and Lucy arrived in the village and went home. It seemed to the girl that everything in her life was repeating itself all over again. Not 3 days later, Selina started packing. "Where are you going?" her daughter asked her. "You're coming with me," the woman only told her. She didn't get it. They never had a proper conversation. "We're going to Austin's tonight." Selina sat down in a chair and looked at her daughter. "Can't you just talk to me honestly for once?" Lucy was ready to cry. "Okay, I'm being honest with you now." Her mother looked her in the eye. "I think you know that while your husband and I were alone together, we talked to him about maybe getting back together." Selina began to speak, and in that moment she realized that she was very embarrassed in front of her daughter. How to get back together? And what about me? She wanted to add something else, but at that moment the thought came into her head that just as she had told Harry that the baby wasn't his, so now she could coax him into doing the same thing in the bedroom when they came in. "Well, what were you going to say? Speak up," her mother glared at her. "We were a normal family. Yes, he's much older than me, but he was supportive in everything and did everything just for me. We were living. A baby is due soon. And now you show up and do all the same things you've already done," the girl explained to her. Lucy sat her mother next to her. "I beg you to step aside. It will be worse if I become his mistress and he walks away from you." The woman said to her, "Mom, how can you do that? I don't understand," cried Lucy. "Look at Harry. Yes, I used to think he was something different, but now that I know him better, I can say for sure that he is a normal person and will do anything for you," the woman gave her motherly advice. "You don't want me to be with him, and now you want to be with him again." Lucy couldn't calm down. "But he is the father of your child." There was nothing more to say to Selina. "So what?" Did not understand the girl, how a grown woman can change her decisions so quickly. "So nothing? Pack your bag. Let's go. You'll have to file for divorce. We'll talk and Austin will decide everything," said the mother, took her things and headed for the exit. "Aren't you even going to wait for me?" her daughter asked her. "I went to get Harry," she said back. "What do we need him for?" The girl didn't understand. "I just told you, don't you want to try to stay with him again?" The mother didn't even say it. She insisted on it. "Okay, I don't understand anything, but go ahead and I'll pack my things," Lucy agreed with her. And again the three of them were at the station, got on the bus and drove to the city. Austin met them at the station. Apparently he and Selima had already agreed on everything. "How are you doing?" He approached Lucy first. She didn't look up at him. "Did you tell her?" Austin turned to Selina. "Yes," she told him. "But now we'll all go to a restaurant together, eat and talk about it." Austin spoke as if he were solving some business problem. They got into a cab, drove off, and indeed, after a while they were near a nice restaurant where Austin had apparently made a reservation. They were led there. They each took a seat. "So yes, I will not hide it. Selina called me. We talked, and remembering how we were together before, I realized that this is a reliable person in life. I want to go back to her." At that moment, Austin turned to his wife and took her hand. "Bone don't, I understand," she told him. "I knew you were a smart girl." He was sorry to part with her, but at the same moment she wasn't leaving his life forever. "Tell me why I'm here." Harry finally raised his voice. "Why don't you want to raise your own child?" Selina spoke up. "Is he really mine?" Harry looked at her. "Oh, please stop asking that for the 100th time." The woman rolled her eyes. "Maybe we could order something hot," the young man suggested. "No, from now on, if you agree to be with Lucy, Harry, we're all family, and there will be no alcohol in our lives. Because I know what I'm like after 2 sips of something strong, and apparently so do you," Austin said sternly. "Jesus, it's like Santa Barbara," Harry said. "What's the matter with you?" Austin looked at him. "This is also your wife, who is supposed to be my wife, and this is my mistress, who is supposed to be your wife." Huffed, he shook his head. Sometimes life is confusing, Selena said because she was afraid Austin would start saying something wrong. After that, Selena and Harry went to Austin's house and he and Lucy went to file for divorce. The girl was silent the whole way. Austin didn't say anything either, ashamed of her. "Why don't you say anything?" she asked him. "What should I say? I am really very ashamed and hurt to do everything that is happening now." He did not lie. "What's all this for then?" she asked. "Well, you have to agree that it's for the best. And we're the same age, me with your mother, you with Harry, and the fact that he's the father of your child is a plus," Austin explained to her. Lucy laughed at that point. "What are you doing?" He thought she was getting hysterical. "I just thought you were going to be a father to this baby, and now you're going to be a grandfather," she explained. "Well, yeah, it turns out that way," Austin smiled as well. After everything was settled, they went back home. No sooner had they gotten to the floor than Lucy felt sick. "What's wrong?" Austin picked her up in his arms. "I think I'm going into labor." She looked at him with frightened eyes, and at that moment she remembered that the doctors had warned her to go to the hospital at least 2 weeks before her due date. "Now wait," he gently set her down on the steps, running into the apartment himself. "Harry, Selena, Lucy's in labor." He yelled inside, pulling out his phone, starting to call an ambulance. When he did, he picked up the girl in his arms again, carried her to the entrance. The doctors took a long time to arrive. "Well, where are they?" worried Harry at the entrance. "Did you feel like a father?" Austin was still trying to make jokes. "It's no time for jokes," Harry told him. "We could have driven ourselves," Austin agreed. When the ambulance arrived, they wouldn't let everyone in the car. Only Selena was allowed to sit there with her daughter. Austin and Harry drove the man's car behind them. "I hope you don't hold it against me," Austin told him on the way. "Sure, how can I hold a grudge against you if you plan to be my father-in-law soon?" The young man smirked. "And you slept with my wife." That kind of talk in the car was probably so that the situation wouldn't be so tense. "And you with mine," laughed Harry. That's how they reached the maternity hospital. There was no one on the porch or in the lobby. They saw Selena. "How is she?" the men almost asked in unison. "Everything is fine. She was taken to the ward. I was not allowed there, of course," the woman told them. Everyone waited to see what would happen next, but no one appeared in the corridors, and by evening, when everyone was exhausted, a young nurse came out to them. "Which one of you is the father?" she asked. "I am," Austin and Harry answered in unison. Uncomprehending, the girl in the white coat looked at them. At this point, and Selena looked at Austin, that he was saying something wrong. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a grandfather. I just can't get used to it yet," he smiled back. "I congratulate you. You have a son and a grandson." She looked at Austin and Selena. Everyone cheered and clapped their hands. Now it was safe to go home and cook everything there. "Wait, why do we have to go to Austin's house?" Harry stopped. "Where do you think I'm taking you, to your village?" The man was surprised by his question. "I don't get it. How are the 4 of us going to live in this little apartment?" Harry asked. "Not 4, but 5, Selena corrected him. All the more, he looked at her. "Okay, now we go to the store, buy everything we need. Then we go to the village, do everything there. But if only Lucy complains to me about you." Austin showed Harry his fist. "Yeah, it'll be fine. Don't get upset," he replied. "Okay, I believe you for now. That's it. Let's go." The family loaded into the car. They did buy all the essentials. While Lucy was in the hospital, in Selena's house they managed to whitewash the walls, the ceiling, put new flooring on the floor, assembled the crib, hung up balloons, stretches. Now it was possible to meet the young man together with the baby. When Austin, Selena, and Harry came to pick up the girl 3 days after the birth, she didn't even expect to see them all here. Harry and Austin gave her flowers. Everyone cried and drove home. "God, how beautiful and nice it is here," wondered the girl how they could do everything so quickly. "Well, that's it. I bless you with this house, love. I hope Austin won't kick me out." Selena looked up at him. He kissed her on the cheek, walked over and gave Lucy a hug and nudged Harry in the side. "All right," he realized. "Lucy, will you marry me?" He handed her the ring. "What's your hurry?" "I'm not divorced yet." She turned to Austin. "Divorced, not divorced. But it's never too late to propose." He handed the ring to Selena and asked her the same thing. "And what? Say we still have a wedding on the same day," said Harry emotionlessly. "Why wouldn't we?" Austin was somehow joyful. which was unlike him. When the women agreed, the men began to set the table. Mother and daughter put the baby to bed. It seemed idyllic between them. "Lucy, you forgive me for everything I have done to you in your life," the woman said to her daughter. "Mommy, I'm very angry with you, but I forgive you for everything." They hugged each other and cried. Austin and Harry looked at it all and realized that everything must be fine in their families now. "Are you sure you won't hurt Lucy?" Austin asked Harry again when they were leaving. "Yes, I've loved her for years now," he answered. "What was Selena for?" The man didn't understand. "What was I to do? Lucy went to town, I was alone, and before that I went to Selena, so she picked me up," he answered. "Okay, now everything is sorted out, so live together, do not forget us. Come and remember that in a month, when the divorce will take place, we will have a wedding, and you should be in the city," Selena reminded the young people. Everyone hugged each other. Harry and Lucy stayed home and Selena and Austin went into town. "I think things will get better in our lives and the children's lives now," the woman said. "I hope so too." Austin had changed. He wasn't like the man Selena had known or the man Lucy had met. "We need to think about what we're going to do in a month," the woman looked at him. "No need to think about anything yet. Let's exhale." He put his hand on her knee. Harry watched his son sleeping. He couldn't believe that now that he saw this tiny miracle, tender feelings for the girl would flare up in him again. "Harry, let's go to dinner," she called to her future husband. Presently, he tenderly cradled the child and went to her kitchen. When he entered there, he did not sit down at the table, but approached the girl. "What?" She turned to him and did not understand what he wanted from her. "Forgive me for everything. I did not understand a lot of things, but now I see everything, and I know that you are the only one who was meant for me," he kissed her. The next day they went to Harry's mother and told her about the wedding. But the grandmother was so excited about her grandson, who she had never seen before, that she didn't care what the young people said. "Are you going or not?" Harry asked her again. "Oh, what? Where to?" She looked up. Lucy smiled. Now she realized that if she had to, they definitely already had a babysitter. "To the wedding," Harry clarified. "Of course, how could I miss such an event? You're my only son." She took her grandson in her arms. "Good. Then we'll start getting ready." Lucy smiled. She wasn't welcomed in this house like she had been all the other times. The couple returned home. They tucked the baby in. Now they could talk. "So what do you think Austin and Mom are going to come up with?" Lucy asked Harry. "How do I know what they might come up with there?" the young man replied. Lucy thought about that day. She wasn't scared now. She imagined that the four of them would be at the registry office. Harry's mother would be there, and their son would be there as well. It had been like this before when she married Austin. "Why aren't you coming over?" Selena called her daughter. It wasn't quite time yet. She was afraid she might have missed it. "And what do you think I don't want to see my grandson?" As if the woman said to her with a complaint. "Everything is understandable, but I don't really want to take the bus with the child," Lucy replied. "Okay, Austin will come to pick you up this weekend," she said and disconnected. The weekend did indeed see a man come to pick them up after they'd been in town for a while, back again. Harry decided to get a job, but it was difficult to do in the village. When the young couple arrived at his parents' house a few days before the wedding, Austin offered the young man a job working for him. That was great, except where would they live? The man promised that at first he could rent a place for them to live. "So Lucy, are you ready?" Selena asked the night before the gala. The woman probably shrugged her shoulders. "What do you mean? I guess you don't know what?" The woman was surprised. "And what to prepare after all? We will just have a painting," confusedly looked at the girl. "What are you doing? What kind of wedding?" Austin rented a restaurant, invited guests from our side will also come. There will be about 80 people, Selena told her. "Wow, we have to notify Harry's relatives too," Lucy said excitedly. "Of course, but that's not the main thing. Do you have a dress?" asked her mother. "No," looked at her. Austin, well, you can imagine, she doesn't even have a dress. And they also said that independent, complained Selena to her future husband. "It's okay. Tomorrow morning we'll buy one." He came over and kissed Lucy. At that moment, jealousy slipped into Selena's soul. And indeed, the next day they all went together. First, they bought everything they needed. Then they did their hair. 2 cars with newlyweds drove up to the registry office. Both couples were beautiful and happy. Everything went very well. The holiday was a success. They had a great time at the restaurant. Although Harry went to work for Austin, he came every day from the village. The young people refused to let their father-in-law rent them a place to live. "Mom, hi, Lucy's here to visit." "Oh, why are you here unannounced?" the woman asked. "I don't know. Somehow I didn't think," gave the daughter to the child's grandmother. "Come in." She herself went into the room to undress her grandson. Then they were sitting in the kitchen. Selena was again preparing a new recipe to surprise her husband. Lucy sat in her chair, looking at the woman, and couldn't believe that just a year ago they had been at such odds. It seemed to her like a completely different person. "Why are you looking at her like that?" Her mother winked at her. "I don't know. I don't believe it worked out so well," the girl shrugged. "Don't talk about it." So as not to jinx it, the mother came up, hugged her daughter, and kissed her. "And what did we lack before? That we lived like a cat and a dog?" Lucy asked aloud. "Just a woman's happiness." The woman smiled at her. At that moment, the doors opened, and the voices of men were heard in the corridor.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel. Like it, write comments if you like the story, and see you on the channel.